Alright, welcome back guys to another, I guess actually technically two gun builds for this one. And this is going to be two assault rifles in the game that I think are really underrated. And this is why, because they are technically not even in the assault rifle category. And one of them is really, really underrated. Like it is really the one of the best feeling, best handling guns, even though it doesn't have the most craziest time to kill. It's not the most meta weapon. However, it is feeling really good and it has a really smooth kind of feeling and a pretty solid kill time compared to other guns like the Growl, which is a lot of people would call that used to be one of the meta guns just because it had really solid recoil. This one does too, and it falls into the same line of the kind of area there. But if you guys remember the Growl, it's like a 4-shot kill kind of weapon. It's like the M4 in a sense. So it wasn't really great, but it felt really good. So more or less like the M4 and the M13 thrown together. So this is going to be two really cool guns. That's not even inside the assault rifle category. It's an underrated. First, we're going to be looking at the SA-87, and this is an LMG that was originally added into the game. It's supposed to be kind of like the different version of the AUG. So if you guys know the AUG, it has the sprint to fire time of an SMG, the hip fire spread of an SMG, while also having the slower ADS speed of an assault rifle and reload speed of an assault rifle. So more the handling of an assault rifle, and also the kill time of an assault rifle too, to a certain point, but also some for like the hip fire and spread to fire speed of a SMG. So it's supposed to be in a weird hybrid. The SA-87 is the LMG version of the AUG. So it has the hip fire spread of an assault rifle and the sprint to fire speed of an assault rifle instead of actually having the LMG level stuff. But it has a little bit slower rate of fire, or not rate of fire, but slower ADS speed than the assault rifle. A little bit slower than the actual SCAR, which is, or the Odin really, for the ADS speed. So it is going to be a little bit slower, so that makes it to where it's more into the LMG category. And the rate of fire is a bit slow, but it is technically faster than the Odin. But it doesn't mean that it is bad in any way, because it is also a 3-shot kill weapon. And for that kind of fire rate, that is really solid. The Odin, I believe, is a 2-shot kill. So this thing is really, really solid when it comes to kill time. And by default, since it's also in the LMG category, it has the second to best ranges out of the entire guns. So obviously, like as you go up in gun categories, you have LMGs and marksman rifles. Actually, I guess marksman rifles would be a little bit higher depending on which one you go for. And then you also have sniper rifles, which is the best of the best. The SA-87 has an incredible amount of range, especially when you put on a longer barrel, but you do not need that. They'll just slow it down a ton. And this is going to be a preferred class setup for this gun. And we are also going to be going over the Holger 26, and this is the one I'm talking about that's also really, really underrated. And it had so many buffs to it. No one has ever touched this gun. And you can actually build it in a lot of ways while still keeping it to where it feels fairly fast. And it's actually compatible with all the other kind of guns. But again, it has a pretty average time to kill, so it's not the best, but it is really good. So think of it as the LMG version of the M13. And I'll be going over that after I do the SA-87. So really, all this gun really lacks in is the ADS time. So that's really going to be your worst weakness here. So I'll put on a couple attachments to help out with ADS speed, while also making it to where that's a little bit faster. Actually, we don't need a command of foregrip. I went over this. The recoil plot for this gun is very much just vertical recoil. There's not really much side-to-side bounce or horizontal recoil at all, so we can actually switch it out for Merc foregrip. This is the lighter underbarrel attachment that will slow down your ADS speed just a little bit, but it gives you a massive boost of recoil control and hip fire accuracy, which stacks with the normal assault rifle hip fire accuracy. So we'll be putting that on. We're going to go with the smallest barrel, or the second from the smallest barrel. This one is a bit bugged. It doesn't really help out when it comes to ADS speed, but it does with movement speed, so you don't really get the most out of that kind of barrel. So I go with the SA87 18.2-inch factory. One, because it does give you a pretty good amount of boost. It does reduce a little bit of recoil control though, and bullet velocity, but it's not as much as the smallest barrel. So all you're really getting out of the smallest barrel is just the movement speed plus, and the worst bullet velocity takedown and recoil control. So avoid the smallest barrel at all costs. Even though you think it'll make it snappy, it will not. So I went with the middle of the road kind of barrel here. So still keeps a slightly above average assault rifle range, and it's already really solid there. And since it is an LMG, it is a lot heavier too by default. So the recoil plot to this gun, like I said, like is very laser accurate. It's pretty much just straight vertical recoil. You don't need to worry about side to side bounce at all. It's almost non-existent. So we're going to put on 2 attachments to help out with that. So we're going to go with the Merc foregrip for obvious reasons. I already explained that. And the muzzle, which is I seen from a bunch of people when I was talking about this, is the compensator for this gun is an absolute monster when you put this thing on. This thing becomes an absolute laser beam with a good handling speed, so an assault rifle. We put the Forge Tac CQB comb. This is the one that increases ADS speed while getting rid of a little bit of aiming stability. This gun is almost laser accurate when it comes to aiming stability as well. So it has all the accuracy, range boosts, all of that for an LMG, with the penalty of having the ADS speed of that. And also has the standard assault rifle magazine of 30 rounds. That's fine. That's standard for almost every single other assault rifle, so it's not too bad. It has a slightly slower reload speed to that, but that's alright. It's not too bad. It's like probably about the slowest or the fastest reload speed that you could possibly get in the game for LMGs outside of the Bruin with the 60 round magazine on there. So it's second the best, fastest reload speed for the LMG, so it's not really that bad at all. So you want to put that on there. And all together, oh yeah, and you can also go for an optic if you want to. You don't need that. You can probably put it somewhere else. Like having the 50 round magazine, that'll just make it to where you have less movement speed, but the ADS speed on there, or ADS sights, or yeah, aim down sight speed penalty is not really there. It's really minor, whatever it is. So you can't really see it in 60, frames. But you do get, that good 20 extra rounds there. So if you want to put that on, you can, or you can put on sleight of hand. Either one works. But I want to run the optic on there because it feels way better with this gun. You essentially turn this thing into a pretty solid handling assault rifle that has a 3-shot kill. So it's essentially, or a 3-shot kill potential for an extreme amount of range. So think of this as the LMG version of the SCAR, but it has way better range. And it has slightly more rounds than the SCAR. So it's really just the LMG version of the SCAR, but better. And, the SCAR is supposed to be like one of the most iconic guns. This thing just takes the cake on that. So it's actually a really solid feeling gun and looks really cool. So you can also put on like different blueprints, like Blue Note. There's one of them like that. I have several of them on here. Let's see. Also have other ones. I like one of the black colored ones here, like this one you can put on. They have different like kind of setups for blueprints. Like this blue one here, I like this one a pretty good amount, so we could take off all that. It's kind of changing the look to it a little bit. Put on everything back on there. So this is what I would be running for my actual build for the SA87. I'll go over that in my gunplay, but afterwards, or after that, we're actually going to be going down to the Holger 26. Now this is also an LMG category, and it's 3 down from the SA87, and it looks like this by default. It has so many buffs to the standard version of it already that you can actually build it to where it has a way like smaller barrel to it and a bunch of other stuff while still keeping the 100 round drum magazine. That's actually really solid because that's very similar to the Bruin. Even with the 100 drum magazine, it's actually faster to reload than most of the belt-fed ones. So this gun already, without any kind of attachments, is already good. So by default, it has the best barrel. This is the longest barrel you can have, so you don't need a waste attachment slot to extend its range by any. It's already good by default, and it also has a really solid amount of rounds by default as well. So that's a major boost for this gun. It already has the best attachments for it for longer ranges, which normally you should be building onto an LMG. So it already gives you plenty of free slots to use for different types of attachments. And this is what I mean, like this gun is very flexible when it comes to building. And you can also turn it into one of the best handling assault rifles in the game by turning into the G36C assault rifle. Through that, we're going to go for its magazine. It's only conversion to magazine, or it's not really conversion, it's just a downgrade from the 100 round magazine to the 30. It reloads way faster, gives you a massive movement speed bonus, sprint to fire speed, which is actually faster than all the other assault rifles, so just by a little bit by default anyway. You could stack that with the 5mm laser and the stipple grip tape if you want to, so technically it has way better sprint to fire speed than all the other assault rifles. You put that on there, and the cons obviously being ammo capacity is reduced to 30 rounds from the 100. You can go to the barrel. Very similarly to the SA-87, you don't want to go for the smallest barrel. This is the Spitfire. It does give you a massive amount of movement speed, and it does also give you a bit of a bonus to ADS speed, but not as much as the ultralight barrel. Now this one makes it to where that you don't lose any kind of recoil control. You lose the less bullet velocity, and you get a massive boost to ADS speed. And you can just use that on there because this gun already moves really fast by default from the countless amount of buffs it has. So you can absolutely put this barrel on, and you really don't lose anything. It has about the same range as most other assault rifles, much like the SA-87. So this is what I mean, like these two guns are very much in the assault rifle area, especially the Holger. This thing's been buffed too many dang times. So you can put that on, and you want to go to the stock, you want to put on the XRK axis. This thing increases your ADS speed even more, and this make it to where that's already one of the snappiest assault rifles in the entire game. And in optics, I go for the reflex sight. It's special one, the FSS integral reflex. This one actually makes it to where it finishes the whole entire G36 look, and that is your gun. So you have one more attachment slot wherever you want to use it. I probably would put on like a suppressor or anything like that on the end of the gun, so it looks more like this. And it's a really, really good feeling gun. Again, it has a pretty fast time to kill, but it's not the craziest. But it's really, really snappy, and it feels really good, so it's very comparable to the M13 in a sense. So I want to go ahead and jump into a game and show you guys how these things handle. Now for the SA-87, it's more of a laser beam, so it's handling more or less just more like the heavier battle rifles, like the AK-47 or the SCAR, the things that can get a 2-shot or a 3-shot kill. So it's more in that kind of category. So think of it more as the harder hitting assault rifles, but with extra range. So as you can see, it's not really that slow. So it's really solid.
Get out there, promote the
Reload
company.
speed's a little bit slower, but that's about it. Sprint to fire speed's about the same as all of the assault rifles. And it's an absolute laser beam. And it's a 3-shot kill, shooting slightly faster than the Odin. So I mean, this is a pretty solid gun right there.
Specialist achieved.
Enemy at the forklift.
So that's really cool and all, but then you go to the most underrated LMG, and this is the bad boy of the G36C. As you can see, way snappier, really low recoil, feels really good, has a real snappy reload speed. This is with specialist bonus. I'll actually kill myself here so you guys can see that the normal speed. Wrong one. So there you go. Reload speed's pretty solid. Sprint to fire speed is really high. It's faster by default
Enemy at the center.
than most other assault rifles. But in order for you to get that sprint to fire speed, you need to put on the 30-round magazine. That's the only downside. But again, like, this gun is really flexible when it comes to attachments and stuff for all the buffs, and already has the best attachments, or two of the best attachments by default when it comes to longer ranges.
Enemy at the center.
So as you can see, it kills fast. So think of it as the Growl or the
Specialist
M13.
achieved.
For me, it looks more like the M13, just for the matte black kind of color.
Enemy
It
at the
just feels pretty good like that. It is really, definitely one of the most underrated LMGs, and probably should be one of the most used. Like the Bruin absolutely slaps still, so it's actually in a very similar area
Enemy
like
at the
that.
center.
Because the Bruin is a 4-shot kill gun too. That thing's been nerfed pretty hard in Warzone before they actually started making Warzone specific nerfs or buffs. At the time, they were just kind of doing both for multiplayer and Warzone, and the Bruin was unfortunately one of those guns. Before it was a 3-shot kill with the handling speed of an assault rifle, so now it's down more of a 4-shot kill with the handling speed of an assault rifle, which is just fine because it still melts people and it's really, really solid. So the nerf didn't really do a whole lot at all. It still shreds, and this gun here is really solid with this. So just to show you guys this, the sprint to fire speed and the ADS thing, or the ADS time, will take a bit of a hit. But, you know, let's put on all the extra attachments on this kind of gun. They increase the speed to it. Even with the 100-round mags, it's still ADS is pretty fast with this thing. And you still have 100 rounds by default, and you can use it somewhere else, or use the other attachment somewhere else. So this is the normal reload speed. As you can see, it's about the same speed as the SA-87. Just by default. You can also put on sleight of hand. Reloads it a bit faster.
X-ray down.
Reloads it pretty dang fast right there.
Enemy at the center.
So you get 100 round drum magazines by default, and it has one of the fastest reload speeds for the LMGs with the largest magazine like this.
I never
So
forget a face.
there's really no reason not to be using this gun for all the benefits it gives you, while being, you know, really solid in the range department for LMGs, and just being good overall, and it looks real good. And it's an absolute laser beam, so why not? And you know, the smaller barrel that you put on doesn't really get rid of recoil control, so you know it's already still as accurate as you can possibly get it
Specialist
without
achieved.
putting on any other attachments on there. Which again, you can use that somewhere else if you wanted to. So take off sleight of hand, put on commando foregrip, you got yourself even more of a laser beam that moves fast and has everything you'd want for the magazine size. So really, really underrated gun.
Under fire.
So yeah, that's really about it. All I wanted to show you guys, it's more of the assault rifle category of LMGs that really handle pretty well. The SA-87 is a bit slow, but it's more of a laser beam that has the battle rifle kind of stats for
Enemy at the
the heavier
warehouse.
assault rifles. And the G36C or the Holger 26 is really just the G36C assault rifle, buffed so many dang times. It still has a pretty decent time to kill, and it just feels so dang good, and it's extremely flexible. So there's so many ways you can build this gun, so it definitely works out for you. And I'd definitely recommend giving this gun a try. It's just too much fun. So
Enemy at the center.
aside from that, guys, that should be about it. Tell me what you guys think about the two different guns down in the comments, or like at least build like this, or you know, actually having any kind of gameplay using them. And that'll be really cool, because I would always love to hear like what you guys think about these kind of guns, if you actually think they're worth using. Now in Warzone, I'm not really sure how well they're going to fare. I know the
Enemy at the warehouse.
The SA-87 slaps pretty hard because it is a laser beam. You can hit people pretty dang hard, and it has a 3-shot kill potential multiplayer, so it already melts people pretty well in Warzone. I don't think it stands out really, but it does hit like a truck, so I think it's going to be in a slightly faster time to kill areas, but it's not going to be the best. The G30, or not the G36, the Holger 26 might be a bit different though, so I'm not really
Enemy at
sure
the
about this
center.
gun on there, but it does have a 100 round magazine again by default, so who knows, you could probably work around it somehow. But aside from that, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.